It's the day of the Corporate Content Awards, and I'm joined by Richard Blake, who is Director of Marketing at Fresh Air. And they're shortlisted for several categories today, including Best Use of Audio and Podcasts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you give us a bit of insight into the world of corporate podcasting? And do you think that for brands who aren't super comfortable with sort of launching their own podcast, what advice would you have for them? And do you think podcasting is for every brand?
I'd say a few things. I think, first of all, so Fresh Air are a podcast agency. So we are the UK's leading podcast agency for brands. And the advice I'd give to any brand is, first of all, every brand has a story. We often say, what is a show that only you can make? And so every brand, every business will have a collection of stories they want to tell that have expertise that only they have. So my advice, first of all, is absolutely plunge in. In terms of what you get that depth of attention, you get the long form attention of a podcast, and you also get the ability to then distribute it across all of your different channels as a content engine. If you're scared or you're not sure about getting into the podcast space, first of all, what we do is put a big measurement framework around your show to make sure you're really clear about the ROI you get. And the other thing I'd say is, again, if you're still not sure, what we also do is we work across all the shows you'll have heard of as a specialist podcast media agency. And that's when we partner with the shows that you'll have heard of to make sure you're hitting the scale, you're hitting the right audience, and we're tailor-made plans and tailor picking the right show for your brand.
And how accessible is podcasting as a platform for brands, do you think? And are there sort of more entryways available to that space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are entryways. I mean, first of all, you can go to a Spotify and Acast with us to help you get into podcasting at a really cheap price. But what I'd really recommend is working with us on a campaign where you're working across video, audio, and social together. That means you'll get real value out of the podcast space, and you'll work with a podcast host that really fits with your brand and that has the influence and the scale that you need for your business.
And today, how would you say that podcasting compares to more traditional forms of corporate content? And is it still necessarily fresh, would you say?
I'd say, as I said, for me, podcasting is about depth. It's about engagement. It's about making sure that you've got long form attention. So some of the episodes we make will be 30, 40 minutes long, and people will stick with it for that amount of time. But what you're able to do now is that we often will say that ears are essential, eyes are optional, but you make sure that you have video alongside your audio show, so you can then use video to drive growth, to drive reach, and to make it really accessible for any brand. In terms of whether it's fresh, no, I don't think it's fresh anymore. I think we don't have to explain what a podcast is anymore. Most people will have their favorite show or have their favorite network or their favorite collection of shows. So it's more now about how can you make the most of it? How can you make your brand feel really like it fits in beautifully into any show? It feels like it's contextual. We'll say that content involves was ads interrupt. We don't want to have a kind of a badly targeted ad around a show. What we want to do is make it feel part of the content and make it feel really authentic and natural part of the show. That's the way you'll get the best return for your investment.
And is there a particular project that you'd like to share a little about that you are particularly proud of? And possibly any tips that any listeners can steal as well for podcast?
I think what I'd say is, I mean, my favourite campaign of the last year, I mean, it has to be our campaign for TV licensing that we work on with the BBC. We get the UK's biggest shows to talk about the TV that they're loving. And that drives the value of why your TV and why we have some of the best TV in the world here in the UK, and how the TV license helps fund that. So we work with Shag Married Annoyed, we work with Frank Skinner, we work with Ant and Dec, and they create these beautiful pieces, really beautiful long form pieces for us, talking about the TV they're loving. And we're finding the audiences absolutely love it. They have really strong engagement. It drives really strong ROI for them. It's it's one of their biggest, strongest channels for them in terms of return for them, and it drives a huge amount of time spent. And time spent is a key metric for us to make sure that people are really engaging with your your content and your brand.
Thank you so much, Richard, for some insights into your work, and best of luck for tonight.
Thank you.